Tonight, the city's biggest snowstorm in recent memory shuts down schools, highways, and transit.
Some of the equipment necessary to expand what was already a very extensive city plowing effort, some of that equipment hasn't even arrived yet.
How stranded snowplows and a loss of daylight are hampering cleanup efforts. Plus,
there were many cars facing different directions. Essentially, that's where I stayed for the next 8 hours.
Some drivers stuck on the highway for more than 8 hours in what they described as total whiteout conditions. And
the way I've explained it is like a Hallmark movie. You see everyone coming out of their house with their shovels. It was insane.
The day bringing chaos, but also acts of kindness and goodwill as communities came together to help each other through the storm. Good evening, I'm Kelda Yoon. Mayor John Tory tonight declaring it a major storm situation. That means that all parking will be prohibited along snow routes in order for the cleanup to continue. And the cleanup will continue for the rest of the week after a major winter storm brought the GTA to a standstill today. Now, we will get to that in a second. Meanwhile, school boards across the GTA were forced to either cancel class or continue with online learning. And many say they will extend those closures into tomorrow. The Toronto District School Board, as well as Toronto's Catholic District School Board, are cancelling all classes tomorrow, while Dufferin Peel Catholic District School Board and Peel District School Board are also moving to virtual learning for the day. The York Region District School Board says it will also be doing the same, moving to virtual learning. Now, the blizzard forced the closure of both the Gardiner and the DVP earlier today, while other roads morphed into basically a snowy shuffleboard.
We're just getting everybody stuck, and when one car gets stuck, it just shuts down the entire highway.
I've been out here for about an hour and a half. I've literally moved about 300 meters in the last hour and a half.
It's crazy. It's really, really deep.
This is the most snow I've seen in Toronto in years, I think.
And one GTA doctor found herself trapped for hours on a highway on-ramp. She was headed to her job in Newmarket when she got stuck heading to the northbound 404.
You know, we were all in the same boat, so there were a lot of people out there trying to troubleshoot how to kind of get by. The issue was that there were multiple big rigs that were stuck in the snow, blocking off the 2 lanes of the on-ramp. So people banded together to try to free those trucks.
Dr. Manji finally got out after 8 hours, but she said it wasn't so bad thanks to calls from family and friends. Now, meteorologist Colette Kennedy joins us now. Colette, I saw you were out earlier with your measuring stick, and you measured almost 40 centimeters in some parts of downtown Toronto.
Yeah, Kelda, just what a day it has been, and what a weather event. Of course, many of these snowfall totals 40 to even up towards 60 centimeters. And I want to go over some of those totals just from some of our communities as well. Get another shot at this in case you didn't see from earlier in the day. So over 50 centimeters, in fact, 55 there into Oshawa, Niagara, and Whitby, both over 52 centimeters. St. Catharines at 50. Toronto, a range, you know, different readings taken at different spots, but sort of gives you an idea. And at Pearson, actually, there the temperature, or rather the accumulation, was 32 centimeters. So not quite a daytime record, but there may have been a little bit of blowing that factored in there. Grimsby, pretty significant. Some areas there around 45 centimeters. You can see Oakville. There you are, Mississauga. What a range there, too. Hamilton, oh boy, over 40 centimeters. And Brampton, just over 25. But I'm sure there were areas in Brampton around where there was even more than that. So then, with all the snow we have on the ground, we've got these strong winds tonight and through the overnight. Tomorrow morning, they will ease a little bit, but just know then strong winds will return as the next system, a much weaker one, but there is another system that's going to come in Tuesday night into Wednesday. So I'll just give you a bit of a look that tomorrow we'll likely see some sunny breaks, kind of variable skies, more cloud cover for southwestern Ontario, more sun for eastern, and then that next one is going to be on our doorstep. So when I come back, I will walk you through what's to come as we go through this week, starting it off with a bang.
Thanks so much, Colette. Now, today was supposed to be the day that schools across the province reopened for in-class learning. Mother Nature obviously had other ideas. And while kids are used to being at home by now, for those who had school actually canceled, today still brought the same old snow day feel. Greg Ross brings us that story.
It was the kind of day school-age kids long for in the winter months.
Because this is a snow day.
And snow day means?
Fun.
It's not an official holiday, but for some kids, waking up to a fresh blanket of snow sure makes it feel like one.
When you woke up this morning, you saw all this snow, what was the first thought that went through your head?
The first thought when I went through my head is to eat waffles and go outside.
Not anything about school?
No. Okay, I'm ready!
These kids wasted little time getting out to enjoy the snow.
I am making a snow angel.
Snow angels are better than school?
Yeah.
Even some parents were getting in on the action.
You're enjoying this as much as the kids are.
Yeah, for sure. I love it.
This was supposed to be the kids' first day back in class since the start of the new year. In Peel Region, all classes were canceled, but kids in Toronto were not entirely off the hook.
We have made the decision to cancel all buses and close schools to in-person learning. Instead, we are pivoting over to remote learning for the day.
TDSB teachers were left with little time to transition from in-person to online.
We were scrambling, obviously, as educators to try to put together something that was, comparable to teaching this morning, but obviously it was not really possible considering, the short notice that we got.
It's nothing new for teachers, students, and parents, given what they've been through over the course of the pandemic.
What's one more day? It's been like 3 or 4 weeks now anyway.
But there was one distinct difference this time around.
What it was not is COVID.
Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
It's been 2 weeks now since the province went back to step 2, but are new measures actually having an impact in terms of lowering COVID case counts? Artelia Ricci takes a look at that.
2 weeks after stepping back in the province's roadmap to reopen, doctors say
we're still seeing a high level of COVID patients coming in, both ambulatory patients that are in their 20s and 30s, as well as, quite a large number of geriatric patients.
Ontario reported 3,887 hospitalizations of people with COVID-19 on Monday. 578 of those patients are in ICU. But those numbers could be higher since not all hospitals report figures on the weekends.
There's some good news in that the ICU increases are not nearly as rapid as the general hospitalization increases, which is consistent with what we think Omicron will do. But still, that's a very high burden. Up to 600 people in Ontario hospitals' ICUs is still a huge burden.
One that's still putting a lot of pressure on hospitals, where staff are already being redeployed.
They are bursting at their seams. And the more you have less RNs available, that stretches those that are there even more. So it continues to cause difficult situations.
Yeah. A shortage of staff and a shortage of critical drugs.
We're really struggling to get access to drugs we know impact mortality and patient outcomes that just don't exist in the system at the present time. And it's not clear when they're going to be restocked. In lieu of that, we're looking for other therapeutics that we can substitute in.
Ontario's Chief Medical Officer of Health says the goal is to blunt the impact in these 2 weeks going forward, and that Ontarian sacrifices are starting to yield results. Doctors say this wave, symptoms are milder in most vaccinated patients and hospital stays are shorter, but they're still anticipating challenging days ahead.
Still a trying few weeks yet.
It's not pretty. It's going to be a rough couple of weeks, but I do think that we will get past this in the next 2-3 weeks.
Talia Ricci, CBC News, Toronto.
Welcome back. And we're turning now to our top story. The cleanup is on and will likely continue for the rest of the week after a major winter storm brought the GTA to a virtual standstill today. As mentioned earlier, Mayor John Tory tonight declaring a major snowstorm condition, prohibiting parking along snow routes to make it easier for crews to clean up the mess that's been left behind. Our Jessica Ng reports.
Now with the blizzard warning over for Toronto, the real cleanup is just beginning. City crews hope that invoking that major snowstorm condition makes it easier for them to deal with the aftermath.
The snow condition is generally declared for a period of 72 hours. but it can be extended beyond that.
Mayor John Tory says the special condition will likely last well more than 3 days.
When you get a snowfall of 5 centimeters per hour, it's going to take time to clean it up.
The city's cleanup crew encompasses 1,500 staff, 600 snow plows, 300 sidewalk plows, and 200 salt trucks. But they generally don't remove snow after most storms. However,
when the snow is not going anywhere because it's not going to melt, and when we're expecting more of it, it does necessitate snow removal. And the snow removal necessitates that cars not be parked, for example, on Ontario roads.
Cars that are blocking active efforts will get what Tory calls a friendly tow. Same goes if you're parked by snow route signs. Because crews need full access to roads to tidy them up. The mayor is saying it takes several rounds of plowing before removal efforts can even begin. As for sidewalks and bike lanes,
some of the equipment necessary to expand what was already a very extensive city sidewalk clearing, plowing effort, some of that equipment hasn't even arrived yet.
That's worrying for many, like personal injury lawyer David Shelnut.
When are the sidewalks getting cleared? When are the bike lanes getting cleared? People use bikes, mobility devices, wheelchairs, and walking to get around.
This is Doug Ford. I'm the taxi driver today.
He's also concerned seeing an unmasked Doug Ford as he helped strangers out of the snow. The premier facing additional criticism for doing TV interviews while driving.
It's almost laughable if it wasn't so terrifying. And it shows that all the way to the upper echelons in power, how much disregard there is for road safety.
Meanwhile, Toronto police issuing an advisory in regards to road safety and collision reporting. Their advice?
Wait till the roads are clear, the plows have gone through, and just stay off the roadways if possible.
Today's storm isn't necessarily the last snow we'll see for the week. Between tonight and Saturday, there are a couple of days of potential flurries and mixed precipitation. So just remember to park vehicles off of major streets in particular to allow crews the space to clean up the snowfall. Jessica Ng, CBC News, Toronto.
And you're looking at a live shot of the Toronto skyline. Cloudy and windy this evening, though that's calmed down a little bit. Currently, it is -3 downtown. Let's go back to Colette now. And Colette, many of us anxious to know what the rest of the week holds.
Well, Kelda, you know, I'm starting off with a look at what's going to be happening with our temperatures, because when you have the kind of snowfall that we have on the ground, then it becomes really important as to whether those temperatures are going to be melting or freezing or doing kind of a variation on that. And that's what I want to show you. So we're sort of status quo through tonight into tomorrow. Not far off normal, but see this spike that's going to be coming into southern and eastern Ontario, and that's into Wednesday. In fact, even overnight Tuesday, we'll likely find the temperatures coming up through the overnight hours into Wednesday, and we're going to get a little bit of kind of sloppy, rainy, wet flurry activity that moves through. Not a lot in terms of precipitation. It can't melt all of this snow when we have such dramatic amounts, but it can bring it down a little bit. And then why I want you to see this is see how then we get those pinks and blues dropping down. Yeah, temperatures are really going to drop off at the end of the week. So some melting and then things kind of refreezing. So just wanting to make sure that you have areas kind of treated and taken care of while you can before we get to that point in the week. So that massive system taking aim at Atlantic Canada, but of course it was already having an impact there and was still having an impact on the Great Lakes region, because it is just so broad. Well, this is the next one that comes in. Doesn't see much, or you won't see much of it into southwestern Ontario, maybe into Wednesday, a little bit of a light mix along the shores of Lake Ontario through the Niagara region. Some wet conditions, but more, like I said, kind of rain because the temperature just above freezing, or a little light mix. And because of that, it's really going to make things kind of nasty on the roads and side roads and the sidewalks when you get this kind of slushy effect. We do still have with those winds, this is in the short term, some of those snow squall watches and warnings to contend with. And then when this next system comes through, the areas where it will hold in the form of some snowfall is very, very minimal in terms of amounts, with the exception of eastern Ontario, where you could actually pick up Kingston through that region, another 5 or 6, 7 centimeters there. So, okay, there you go. There's -5 for Tuesday, 2 for Wednesday, and then the big drop that is going to occur as we head into Thursday, and that cold weather comes in and kind of refreezes everything, Kelda.
Thanks so much, Colette.
The weather update is brought to you by Train. We test, so it runs. Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand. It's hard to stop a train.
It's being hailed as a game changer. Health Canada has approved an antiviral treatment from Pfizer for adults infected with COVID-19. Travis Danraj has the details.
It's being hailed as a game changer, the first COVID treatment approved by Health Canada that can be taken at home. But it's not a quick fix.
For the Omicron wave itself, it may contribute, but it won't be a key contributor to the current waves.
The approval of Pfizer antiviral Paxlovid, intended to treat adults with mild to moderate COVID at risk of serious illness, will eventually make a major difference when it comes to hospitalizations. The problem now is ramping up supply and distribution. Provinces don't have a clear delivery schedule for the months ahead.
Canada has already received the first shipment of more than 30,000 treatment courses of Paxlovid, with another 120,000 on the way in February and March.
My officials and I continue to work with Pfizer in order to finalize the delivery schedule for the remaining treatment courses and to accelerate deliveries of this highly sought-after medication wherever possible.
Testing is also a major factor for treatment. The drug needs to be taken within 5 days from the onset of symptoms. With PCR tests limited across the country, Health Canada says rapid antigen tests can, in some circumstances, be used to prescribe the medication.
PCR test might pick up a positive earlier than a rapid antigen test, but if you have a positive rapid antigen test, it's actually very accurate.
Side effects of Paxlovid include muscle pain, vomiting, high blood pressure, and headache. It also can't be taken while on certain medications. Among those on the priority list to get the treatment, the unvaccinated, something Dr. Teresa Tam was pressed on today.
As healthcare providers, you don't pick and choose which patients you have coming into the hospital and getting treated.
Even as the rollout of Paxlovid scales up in the months ahead, the gold standard remains vaccines. Officials say no pill is a substitute for getting the jab before catching COVID-19. Travis Danraj, CBC News, Ottawa.
CBC News has obtained a confidential report that looks at the Ford government's plans for regulating online gambling in Ontario. It predicts that opening up the online gambling market will mean a big hit to casinos and provincial revenue. Our Queen's Park reporter Mike Crawley has this story.
Before the pandemic, casinos brought the provincial government close to $2 billion in revenue every year. Now the Ford government is poised to give online gambling companies the green light to operate from Ontario. What will the impact be on casinos? CBC News obtained a confidential consultant's report prepared for Great Canadian Gaming. The company runs a dozen casinos in the province, including Ontario's most lucrative, Casino Woodbine. The report predicts a steep drop in casino revenues across Ontario and 2,500 jobs lost.
I am deeply concerned about the impact this is going to have on jobs, but overall the impact on our communities and province.
The provincial government is expected to take 20% of the proceeds of registered online gambling companies. Right now, the province gets 55% of the proceeds from casinos. The report argues that so much casino spending will shift online that provincial gambling revenues will drop by more than $500 million a year. Great Canadian Gaming declined CBC's request for an interview. Its online competitors say its report is rubbish.
When the regulated market opens in Ontario, nothing is going to change in respect to players' entertainment habits.
This internet gambling executive says Ontarians are already playing online casinos.
Anybody who continues to walk into real casinos in order to play games there will continue to do so.
Even though companies aren't yet allowed to operate online gambling sites in this province, there's nothing stopping Ontario residents from using sites based elsewhere. Estimates suggest Ontarians already spend as much as $1 billion a year gambling online, and that has casinos wanting a piece of the action.
They're actually anxious to be a part of the online rollout. They're anxious to be able to participate and compete and create an opportunity for their own customers who may be gambling on other people's sites to try and bring them back into their business.
In a statement, Great Canadian's CEO said, while we support iGaming in principle, the Ontario government needs to take the time to get this right. The finance minister declined our request for an interview. His spokesperson said that Ontario's online gambling market is being designed to coexist with land-based casinos and not hurt provincial revenues. Mike Crawley, CBC News, Toronto.
A lot has gone wrong for a lot of people on this wild day of weather, but also emerging stories of communities coming together. Now, that was the case for one delivery driver in Ajax who was trying to drop off food when her car got stuck. So she started trudging the delivery through this thick snow. And that's when neighbors jumped to the rescue, putting the food on a big shovel and helping her slide it right across the snow. In Bowmanville, meanwhile, another woman was running into issues with a delivery, but in this case, it was a baby. Lauren Ducey's water broke in the morning, but she and her husband were snowed into their home. That's when he turned to neighbors for help.
My wife was booked to be induced at 9 a.m. today. At 5 a.m., she woke me up saying her water broke. So being our first child, I started panicking right away. So I went outside, started kind of just shoveling, getting things prepared. She called the hospital. They said, come in for 11. So I came back inside, just kind of rested a bit, and about 7:30ish, she told me, she's like, look outside. And it was just, we had about 2.5 feet of snow covering our entire street from like snow drifts. It was insane. So I went outside to start preparing, cleaning up and shoveling the snow. My neighbor across the street his car was stuck in the snow. So I went to help him. That's where the conversation, I was just like, yeah, my wife, she's been, her water broke about 5 hours ago. And his wife actually posted on a Bowmanville Facebook group about the situation. And it was like 5-10 minutes after, just, you see, the way I've explained it is like a Hallmark movie. You see everyone coming out of their house with their shovels. It was insane. Just this huge community of people. We've only been here since February, just coming out to help us. Some of them don't really even know us. Others we've met periodically, been difficult with COVID. And it was just amazing. Like, we've had off-duty firefighter come with his truck to offer to drive us to the hospital. It was just the sense of community, the amount of people that came out to support us out on like a whim was just incredible.
Now, there's still no baby yet. They did make it to the hospital, though, and they will be back tomorrow morning. Now, that's our show for you tonight. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great night, everyone. And stay safe.